Welcome back to learning about soils. This is the soil video part 2, where we will cover the remainder of our content on soil, as well as answer the remainder of the essential questions. So in video 1, we addressed the first few questions. Now we are ready to talk about pH, fertility, and how soils are in different climates, so how climates can affect soil. So I'm going to go back to my Dynamic Earth PDF file and recall that this is the last page we talked about and we ended here, and we are ready to move on to soil color. So I will continue reading right here where it says soil. Soils can be black, brown, red, orange, yellow, gray, and even white. Soil color is a clue to the types and amounts of minerals and organic matter in the soil. Iron minerals make soil orange or reddish. Soils that contain a lot of humus, remember that is the organic material, plants or animals that are decomposing from those tiny things we call bacteria, or from fungus. Those things break down plants and animals that have died. Okay, so soils that contain a lot of humus are black or brown. Color can also be a clue about the environmental conditions. Gray soil can indicate that an area is often wet and has poor drainage. Soils are usually a mixture of colors, such as a reddish-brown. Scientists can use the Munsell system of color notation to describe soil colors. The system uses a book of color chips, much like a paint chips found in a paint store. Scientists compare a soil to the color chips in the book to classify soils. So here we take a look at 4 different climates. So it says climates can affect how soil forms in different regions on Earth. Warm, rainy regions produce tropical soils and temperate soils. Dry regions produce desert soils and Arctic soils. So here we're looking at tropical soils. So these form in wet regions. Heavy rains wash away and leach soils, leaving only a thin layer of humus. Soil development is fast in these regions, but it's not suitable for growing most crops. Desert soils form in dry regions. These soils are shallow and contain little organic matter. Because of the low rainfall, chemical weathering and soil development is slow in desert regions. Temperate soils, so our state of Pennsylvania would be considered temperate. Okay, so temperate soils form in regions with moderate rainfall, which means in the middle, and temperatures. Some temperate soils are dark-colored, rich in organic matter and minerals, and good for growing crops. Arctic soils form in cold, dry regions where chemical weathering is slow. They typically do not have well-developed horizons. Arctic soils may contain many rock fragments. Soil chemistry. So now we are ready to answer that question about pH, what that could mean. We did not talk about that this year, so you probably don't have much of an idea at this point. Soil pH is determined by the combination of minerals, sediment, and organic material found in the soil. The pH of soil is a measure of how acidic or basic a soil is. So when I ask you if a soil, what does soil measure? So you can say it measures how acidic or basic soil is. And there's different numbers, and we want to figure out what those numbers mean. The pH is based on a scale of 0 to 14. If pH is less than 7, the soil is acidic. So 1 to 6.9. If pH is above 7, the soil is basic. In the middle, the pH scale is 7, which means the soil is neither acidic nor basic. It is neutral. Scientists measure soil pH to determine whether the soil can support different plants. For example, soybeans grow best in a soil with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0. Peanuts thrive when the pH of soil is between 5.3 and 6.6. That's interesting. Farmers can adjust the pH of soil to meet the needs of their plants. They can also add lime to make acidic soils more basic. They can add acids to make basic soils more acidic. Okay, the lime here is not like the fruit, so I just want you to keep that in mind. So most fruits like oranges and lemons, citrus fruits actually are acidic, so they would have a pH below 7. I'm not quite sure what the number is. I think it might be close to a 3 or a 4, maybe even less than that. So pore space, there's no questions on pore space, but it talks about how some soils are kind of pushed closer together on the right, and some soils, the particles are spread further apart. But one interesting fact here is that the best soil for growing plants has about 50% of its volume as pore space. So half of it, half of the total soil is pore space, which allows for the water to get to the roots of the plant. So one way we can kind of create more pore space is to have those earthworms in there and those animals burrowing their way through the ground. Okay, so we're going to not answer this question. We can skip it. And we are towards the end here. Soil fertility. Soil fertility describes how well a soil can support plant growth. This quality is affected by factors that include the climate of the area, the amount of humus, minerals, and nutrients in the soil, and the topography of the area. Fertile soils are often found in areas with moderate rainfall and temperatures. Soils with a lot of humus and proper proportions, that means amounts, of minerals and nutrients have a high soil fertility. Soils found in dry areas or in steep hillsides have low fertility. Farmers can add chemical fertilizers or organic matter to soils to improve the soil fertility. They can also grow crops such as legumes to restore certain nutrients to soil or leave cropland unplanted for a season to replenish its fertility. So let's go back to our remaining questions. We can answer that question. Number 8 says Pennsylvania is part of the temperate deciduous forest. So it's temperate, has moderate temperatures and rainfall. Which of the following would be true? So does Pennsylvania have a high fertility, meaning a lot of plants can grow here? Does it have a low fertility? So please look back if you need to do so. The last one, which U.S. state has a desert climate with low rainfall and shallow soils? Use the map below here and on the following page to answer. So we have different biomes here. We have tropical rainforest. Pennsylvania is about here. Temperate deciduous forest. We have grasslands, taiga, tundra way up in the Arctic, temperate rainforest, grassland, and desert. So we want to look at the yellow part of the United States and what states do we have there. And we want to figure out if the state in the desert climate over here is Florida, Arizona, or Pennsylvania. So I included a map on this page. We want to look in this area, and that should give us a clear answer if it's A, B, or C. Okay. Don't forget you can pause this video, rewind it to go back to parts where you would like to rewatch a section. And don't forget to submit your document by pressing the Add or Create button, then attaching the name of this file, so soil file, right? Or you can rename it if you'd like, if you don't want to keep the name that it has right now. And make sure you press Turn In. I want to thank everyone for doing a great job turning in their assignments. I'm very proud of all of you, and I wish I could be back in the classroom teaching.